Welcome to another edition of the Idol Threat Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Joey Idol, doing it solo again. We got no production assistant with me, so I'll be handling everything this week. Double D's been on a sort of permanent vacation, I guess. I don't know where he's been. But anyways, let's get right to the show with what we always start out with, Today in Wrestling History. And today in Wrestling History, we just got a couple of birthday shout-outs, I guess. It's Johnny Rod's birthday, and it's Charles Wright's birthday, a.k.a. The Godfather, Papa Shango, Kama. So happy birthday to those two guys. We got a great interview this week with Nate Mattson. We met him down at the Can-Am gym yesterday, actually. So I'll put that interview in here this week, so that's coming up. Watch for that. And we'll just get right to it with first thing, big news this morning. I woke up and TMZ was reporting that Ric Flair was in serious condition in the hospital, and it was very serious. He was rushed to the hospital, not looking good. I'm thinking, man, he's had health issues in the past not that long ago. Maybe this could be the end for Ric Flair, which I'm hoping not. I bummed out my whole day. Then I realized, or come to read, that it was a planned surgery and that he just wants to make sure he's in the best shape he can be for the fans at StarCast in Las Vegas. So update there from Conrad Thompson that Ric Flair is just in a planned procedure and he's going to be okay. So don't worry too much about the Nature Boy, but we wish him a recovery anyways. Big news, AEW All Elite Wrestling finally has gotten a TV deal. So I guess everybody, all the naysayers, the haters, can stop calling them just a glorified t-shirt company. They signed on with TNT, which is where WCW Nitro used to be on. So they have had wrestling there in the past. One time was #1 rated wrestling program in the world they had. So let's hope they do a good job. And let's not hope that, like WCW's whole motive was to crush WWE, put WWE out of business, no more WWE, let's make them all lose their jobs. Why be like that? Lance Storm came out on Twitter yesterday and said, why wouldn't you wish that both promotions do great? That's what I'm hoping for. I just don't watch WWE now because I'm lost on it. I don't enjoy the product. They have too many characters. They own everybody. They sign people to contracts just so they don't use them and nobody else can have them, which I really don't like. But I'm not hoping that AEW comes along. I hope they do great. I hope they come along and give WWE a wake-up call, like WCW did. It's basically wrestling where we're at, besides on the indies, Impact, MLW, other promotions. We're back with WWE in 1995. The worst time in wrestling. Nobody's watching WWE. I mean, they have their fans, obviously, but the ratings are as low as they've been in, if not all time, a very, very long time. But I'm not hoping that AEW comes. They're an alternative. What we want is wrestling, and I'm really hoping that All Elite Wrestling gives us a change from that silly WWE sports entertainment. I'm not a sports entertainment fan. I like wrestling. I want to see more wrestling, and I hope that's what AEW provides us, like Impact's doing. Watch an Impact taping. It's all wrestling. There's very little. There's obviously build-up promos and drama to the events, which you need in wrestling, but it ain't like WWE where it's silly. Like, let's go on with what I wrote down with what else is in the Lars Sullivan, in WWE wrestler. This is the one guy who comes out and says all this racist and ridiculous crap. And it's crap what he said. And all the ways WWE, this is the guy they're going to defend and they're fining him. Great, that's a great thing to do. But I say fire the guy. There's not that much investment into him already. And what he said was absolutely absurd. And in this day and age, the things they fire people for, people have been fired for a lot less, is my point. And I would let that guy go over what he said. He's a freaking idiot. Nobody's ever going to get behind him. If people still haven't forgiven Hulk Hogan for what he said in the past, then surely, you know what, don't like to swear that much on the show, but fuck that guy. So Alexa Bliss has been pulled from the Money in the Bank match, and this goes back to my, with WWE, too many characters, and who cares? You got somebody else that can replace her. Really? Is that a big news? No? I don't really think it is. I mean, I'm not gonna watch it. Everybody also is going on and on about the Bray Wyatt gimmick, how great it is. I don't watch WWE, but I took the time, sat aside, sat down, spent a couple minutes, watched what everybody was going on. I don't get it. I mean, they put some more thought into it than they usually do with things. Obviously, they thought these Mercy Bird character, and Kevin Dunn put himself on television finally with the rabbit character there, obviously, and the witch, whatever that is, obviously supposed to be Sister Abigail. I don't care. It does nothing for me. The guy reinvents his character, whatever, good. They tried something different, but the same, familiar. I don't care. That's my opinion. I mean, if you like it, good. I'm not knocking you. Then watch. Keep watching. Yeah, so also, the Land documentaries I talked about last week, bring them up again because finally all 6 episodes have aired. I just watched them all over again, and I love them. I watched the Moolah one last night. The Moolah one, I thought it would be the one, maybe I was least interested in, but it ended up being one of the most fascinating ones, and I have no opinion. I'm keeping not biased on it because unless you were there, really, you don't know what Sweet Georgia Brown's family says Moolah's done and what other people say is done. You don't know. You weren't there. You just can't make assumptions. I think they covered that documentary this week very nicely with both sides of it. Some of the women said, just like it's always been, we don't know. We weren't there. We don't know what Moolah did. Moolah, in many ways, obviously the forerunner of the women's wrestling movement, did a lot for it, but in many ways maybe she did hold back because of her bitterness or jealousy, wherever, towards Wendy Richter, towards whoever. She may have kept it back in some ways, but she did a lot, and you can't take away what Moolah did for the women's wrestling industry. Also watched for the first time, and I've watched it a couple times since, Gino Hernandez's, because I love Gino Hernandez, and it tries to go in, and they try to solve it and wrap it up for you, what really happened, but we have no idea, and unless you were there, you don't know what happened to Gino Hernandez. At the end of the documentary, they had that guy anonymously tell Gino's mom that, it's okay, he wasn't murdered, he just liked to party, he did too much, he died, don't be worrying all the time, and it is sad that his mom had to worry so much her whole life about somebody maybe, coming to get her too, but you can't just believe because that guy said, oh yeah, that's what happened, that's what happens. You have to take it with a grain of salt. Again, unless you were there, you are never going to really know what happened. I loved the Bruiser Brody one, that one, they were all great. They really can't. The Screwjob one was great, the Macho Man one was great. If you haven't been watching them, what are you doing? Are you a wrestling fan or not? And if this day and age, I think people like the shoots more than they like, actually watching the program, because it's put out there so much. Oh, wrestling's fake. So, in a way, watching these shoots and backstage stories and stuff, now it's real. This is real. And I'm not using the F word saying wrestling's fake, because we all know here what it is. You want to call it predetermined, scripted, whatever. What they do what they put their bodies through, definitely beyond fake. It's not a fake program, but my point is, the shoots that they put out and Viceland puts out, all these documentaries, people want to see those, because here's the true story, here's what happened behind doors, here's when the camera was off, here's what happened. And if you're into that type of stuff, you've got to see these Viceland documentaries. So let's go onward with the show. We're going to talk about next week. Next week is Thursday the 23rd. It's the 20th anniversary of the tragedy that befell all of us wrestling fans to what is known as one of the greatest men in the history of the business, backstage, in front of the camera, behind the camera, anywhere. He joins us every week right here in the tribute, Owen Hart's 20th anniversary. I'm going to have special guest, Last Word on Sports Wrestling Department Head Editor Jamie Greer will be joining me right here in the Idle Threat Studios for a whole show just about where we don't talk about anything else other than Owen Hart. We're going to take a look back at his career, some of how he touched us. I mean, Jamie, we never met Owen Hart, but I mean, the guy we both grew up watching Owen Hart, and we're just gonna share our memories and what he did for us as fans. The guy was entertaining on camera all the time, whether it be funny, serious, great wrestler. All around, all you ever hear is great things about Owen Hart, and I think if anybody in the wrestling business really deserves a tribute show, the first tribute show on the Idol Threat Wrestling Podcast, it's going to be Owen Hart. So make sure you join us next week for that. We're going to half hour to an hour, just going to look back at the career of Owen Hart. In my opinion, the best of the Hart family wrestlers. He could do the technical stuff that Brett could do. He could be silly in the ring, which we didn't see, Brett do too much of. But also the high-flying stuff he could do. All around, Owen Hart, one of my favorite people to watch in wrestling. But now, we're going to just pull it over and go to the interview with Mr. Nate Mattson. Alright, welcome to another threatening interview on the Idol Threat Wrestling Podcast. I'm here today with Nate Mattson, and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We're in one of my favorite places in Windsor, Ontario, the Can-Am Wrestling School, where Nate is one of the head trainers. How's that going for you?
It's going great. I officially joined the coaching staff back in October of last year, and along Johnny Bravo and Aiden Prince, and of course Scott Demore is the owner of Can-Am Wrestling and Border City Wrestling. So it just kind of made sense. We had a couple of trainers that would come through the years, and I would just always be one of those guys that would kind of come in every once in a while and just help out. And so there was an opening, and it just worked out where my schedule was able to fit in a night of training, and so it worked out. I'm really excited.
And you have a ton of history with the Border City Wrestling and the Can-Am. You were training at Can-Am way back in, when did you start, 1996?
Absolutely, yeah. April 96, I first walked into the Can-Am Wrestling School, invited by Irish Mickey Doyle, who was one of the people that started the Border City Wrestling. Legend in Detroit, absolutely. And I always say he's my wrestling dad, because without him, I never would have gotten as far as coming through these doors. So he gave me a call after I contacted him, and was able to just start learning everything from the ground up. And since then, it's like two-time Border City Tag Team Champion.
Doug Chevalier, Battle Royal winner. That was the last time we saw you in a Border City ring, I believe, right?
Well, I did we had some smaller shows.
Oh, right.
We had a Christmas show, and then we had we do the Fantastic Fathers every year, which we've got another one coming up. I believe it's June 15th.
Yep.
So definitely. Anytime there's a Border City event, I'm usually on it. So.
And you had connections with Doug Chevalier as well, right? You wrestled your first match, right, in Border City against him? Was that your first match ever?
Yeah, my very first match ever was against the Canadian Destroyer. And it's kind of funny because he's known for being very snug. So it's kind of like he really made me pay my dues. Like he stretched me out, he would beat me up, but he did it all for my good. So it's a great learning experience to wrestle the Canadian Destroyer. Plus the legend and the legacy that he's created. Obviously, Petey Williams naming his famous move after Doug. And I don't think Petey actually met Doug. Doug had passed away, I believe, in the year 2000. So it was like Petey came along shortly after. But just the respect that name has, the Canadian Destroyer, shows that how revered he is, in this school. You won that Battle Royal. It was 2016, and you were in the 2018, where that was the last time we saw you in October. You went all the way down to the end. You had almost with a guy who's been with you in Border City forever, Matrox, sorry. Yeah. And he ended up eliminating you and winning it. Yeah, well, it's like one of those occasions where. He got lucky, and so it is what it is. But he's one of the people that is like the glue that helps Can-Am Wrestling. He can be called upon for anything. So it's like Can-Am develops a lot of great, not just professional wrestlers, but also people behind the scenes that learn the business and the industry from the bottom up. And there's a lot of people that can really be called upon to do what's right for business. And I'll tell you, he's one of them. So. Absolutely. He's what got me involved with Border City. You also were responsible for training Chris Sabin, right? Well, yeah, and that, a lot of things just kind of fall in your lap. I was helping Doug Chevalier. He had moved to the States before he passed away. and he had opened up a school in Michigan called the NWA Michigan Wrestling School. And so when he passed away, I kind of took over as like the unofficial trainer. And we had another trainer there who was kind of fielding inquiries and stuff like that. And Chris Sabin had emailed one of the other guys, and so he was 18 years old. And when he came over to our school, we immediately clicked. And I just, everything that I learned here, I taught Sabin. And then eventually, I brought him over, you know, and then introduced him to Scott D'Amore, and then his career just took off. So I'm super proud of him, former Impact World Champion, you know, big name all around the world. So
another bigger name that you've worked with is Truth Martini, and I just like to mention him because we're the Idol Threat podcast, and you guys were in Border City called The Threat, right?
Exactly.
How was it working with him?
Truth Martini, one of my oldest friends, a great trainer, great manager, has one of the best promos, you know, that you can think of in pro wrestling, and one of the best minds. You know, a lot of people think that, you know, we just kind of like, hey, you're a character, go wrestle and do that. But, you know, there's a lot of thought that goes into what we do in the ring and the things that we say and just kind of how we further things. Truth Martini is one of those guys that's just always thinking about, you know, how can we get more people? How can we, you know, make them really sink their teeth into certain angles or characters or storylines, stuff like that. So, yeah, Truth, been up and down the road with him. We were a tag team for many years, and even during some of his injuries where he had broken his neck, he still continued to wrestle before he became a manager, and then I was one of the first guys that he managed. So, you know, great guy, really great guy.
You've always been constant freelancer, working all the time in Ontario, as well as Michigan. What have you been up to lately?
Lately, still, I call it my little, my own loop, my territory. Michigan, Ohio, and Ontario. You know, I'm always over here for any Border City event. Michigan, there's about 4 or 5 promotions I work for in Michigan. There's a few in Ohio that I go to, and I'll go out to Indiana, Illinois. So it's just kind of like you said, that freelance, that independent. If my schedule's open and there's a spot, you know, then I'll be there. So it's I stay busy after 22 years in wrestling. So it's every weekend something's going on.
I saw on your Facebook page that you were mentioned in Sabu's autobiography that just came out. Can you tell us a memory about Sabu? Is one of my favorite wrestlers. Tell us a memory or working with Sabu. How was working with Sabu?
Working with Sabu is great. He's very unorthodox, but it's because that's what sets him apart from everybody else. I mean, everything he does, you know, there's a style today where a lot of guys just go out there and they do a lot of moves, but you don't really get that feeling of that you've been through a war. Where Sabu, every match that he was in, you could tell that, you know, everything he put out there, he put it all on the line. So he was the same way with me. Even in front of a smaller crowd or a big crowd, he didn't care if it was one person bought a ticket. He still worked just as hard for that one person. So I have so much respect for Sabu. One story that I remember is I was wrestling out in Philly a couple years ago, and the first time I was there was at the ECW arena. And so I'm just standing there kind of taking it all in, because, you know, when you first go there, you're kind of in awe of it.
Of course.
And so I just, right from behind, someone, you know, takes out my knee, you know, like when someone steps on the back of your knee, you just kind of like that. I turn around and it's Sabu, and I look over him and he's like, "First time here?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay." So then, like, he sees that I don't really know a lot of people because it's a different territory. So we're in the locker room, and he sets down his bag, pulls up a chair right next to me. Now this is the ECW arena. This is pretty much the house that Sabu built. So for him to take someone at me at the time where I was still young in the business and have Sabu set up camp right next to me, it kind of told the rest of the locker room, like, hey, this guy's, you know, he's not too bad. So
they accepted you.
Yeah, exactly. So that, I owe him a lot for that, because he looked out for me. And anytime I saw him, you know, he'd always make sure I was getting taken care of by the promoters and stuff like that. So, you know, Sabu, he is wild and crazy, but at the same time, he's got a big heart. So.
I also saw on your Facebook that you've been doing a little bit of movie work. You want to talk about the movie?
Yeah, you know, it's like from Detroit for a while, there was some independent films popping up, and there was, you know, a lot of things where there's a lot of filming going on. So I just made some certain connections here and there, and just shot a scene for a movie called The Contract. So there's no release date yet. We're still in the filming process, but it'll be interesting to see. It's part sci-fi, part action. You know, it's pretty gritty, so we'll see how it goes. But it's like Detroit, so it's how it goes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I know you got a class to teach tonight, so I won't keep you too much longer, but if you got anything else to promote or plug, have at it.
Yeah, I'm in Twitter, at Amazing Nate, so Nate is Nate like that. Same thing with Facebook or Instagram, just look up Amazing Nate. I'm on YouTube. So yeah, no, I mean, just, keep supporting your local pro wrestling companies and independent companies, and you never know who's going to end up in an Impact ring. This is the Can-Am Wrestling School. It's never too late to sign up. We take anybody as long as you get through the tryout, and if this is for you. So, I'm cool with anybody coming in and just checking it out, and hit me up on one of those platforms.
Perfect. For the Idol Threat Wrestling Podcast, I'm Joey Idol. This has been Nate Mattson. Have you back again soon, I hope.
It'll be great.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
So thanks a lot, Nate, for having me down to the Can-Am Wrestling School. Always a privilege going there. Like I said in the interview, one of my favorite places in Windsor, really. It's great that my city has a representation like that of, it's added to some of the best wrestlers in the world come out of the Can-Am Wrestling Gym. Bobby Roode, Eric Young, Rhino, Scott D'Amore started it. The list goes on and on. Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, P.T. Williams, they go on and on. Great gym, was ranked in the top 20 schools of all time by the Sportster. Sorry to throw my pen there. But now it's time for maybe everybody's favorite part of the show. And last week it got kind of screwed up because of copyright violation. But we're going to try to make sure that doesn't happen this week. And we're going to turn our attention to the Froggytron 5000 right here for this week's episode of Tell Me He Did Not Just Say That.
He didn't just say that.
Here we go. Well, I think it was pretty obvious there who made himself look like a jackass, and it was Psycho Sid. Psycho Sid always struggled in the mic department, but that's probably one of the most memorable ones that he did. He basically called himself an idiot. And Kevin Nash and Scott Hall's reaction are perfect. So next week, like I said, the Owen Hart Tribute Show. Also hoping to have inside the studio for you a interview with former Border City Wrestling star Big Pat Ryan. Can't wait till he's here. We'll see you next week, and I'll leave you with simply go Bruins!